Get out. Now. Vanessa stood at the door, my suitcase already packed. Her cold eyes cut through me like glass. I stared at her, confused and hurt. What are you talking about? This is our home, Vanessa. We can work through. My mother was right about you, she interrupted. You're not good enough. You never were. Beverly, her mother, sat smugly on our couch with a satisfied smile. She'd been living with us for 3 months after her knee surgery. Vanessa, please. Let's talk about this. What did I do wrong? Everything, she spat. You're weak. You can't provide. You're pathetic. My hands shook as I reached for the suitcase. 5 years of marriage, gone in 60 seconds. No explanation, no chance to defend myself. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem anymore. I walked to my car in a daze and sat behind the wheel. When I tried my key 20 minutes later, it wouldn't turn. She'd already changed the locks. I slept in my car that first night, parked behind a 24-hour diner. My back ached, my heart was broken, and my mind raced with confusion. Then I remembered something strange from 2 months ago. I'd been looking for my birth certificate in Vanessa's desk when I found a folded paper tucked behind old bills. It looked official, with legal stamps. I'd glanced at it quickly, something about property transfer, but Vanessa walked in and snatched it away. Just boring paperwork, she'd said. Nothing important. Now, sitting in my cold car, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old photos. There it was, a picture I'd taken before she caught me. My stomach dropped. It was a quitclaim deed. The house that belonged to both of us, the house my grandmother left me before marriage, now showed only Vanessa's name. My name had been completely removed. She'd secretly made herself the sole owner while I was at work. The pieces started falling into place as I sat in that parking lot. Beverly moving in hadn't been about recovery. It had been about executing a plan. I remembered her constant comments over the past months. Vanessa deserves better, she'd whisper. A real man would have bought a bigger house by now. She'd criticize everything, my job, my clothes, how I loaded the dishwasher. Your husband is holding you back, honey, I'd overheard her tell Vanessa. You need security, not promises. Vanessa had started pulling away after that. Fewer conversations, cold shoulders, separate bedrooms. I'd thought it was stress from caring for her mother. Now I realized they'd been planning this together. My phone buzzed with a notification. I'd forgotten about the voice recording app I'd accidentally left running during family dinner last week. My finger trembled as I pressed play. Beverly's voice came through clearly, the house papers are almost ready. Once we get him out, you'll own everything. He'll be left with nothing. Vanessa's response made my blood run cold. Perfect. I can't wait to be free. I drove to Vanessa's parents' house the next morning, desperate for answers. Maybe Beverly had manipulated them too. Maybe they'd help me understand what went wrong. Harold, Vanessa's father, answered the door. His face went hard when he saw me. She told us you might come here, he said. We have nothing to say. Harold, please. I just want to understand. You understand perfectly well, Beverly's voice called from inside. You're not welcome here. The door slammed in my face. Even my own parents offered little comfort when I called them. We never really trusted her, son, my mother said quietly. But we thought you knew what you were doing. I was completely alone, with nowhere to turn. That's when I remembered Tony, my best friend from high school. He'd always been straight with me. Come crash on my couch, Tony said when I called. And bring all your paperwork. I have an idea. Tony lived in a small apartment across town. As I sat on his worn sofa that night, he studied the quitclaim deed photo. "This isn't over, man," he said, fire in his eyes. "Buy the house out from under her," Tony said the next morning over coffee. His words sounded crazy, but his expression was serious. "Tony, I'm broke. I just got kicked out. How am I supposed to buy anything?" "Think about it," he pressed. "That house belonged to your grandmother, right? She left it to you before marriage. There might be legal protections you don't know about." I laughed bitterly. "Vanessa made sure she owned everything. That deed proves it." "Does it though?" Tony pulled out his laptop. "My cousin works in real estate law. Let me make a call." Within an hour, we had an appointment with Mr. Carson, an elderly lawyer who specialized in property disputes. Tony drove me to the old brick building where Mr. Carson had practiced for 40 years. "Interesting case," Mr. Carson said, adjusting his glasses as he reviewed my phone photos. "Tell me about the original inheritance." I explained how my grandmother had left me the house 3 years before I married Vanessa. "And your wife filed this without your knowledge?" "Yes, sir. I never signed anything." Mr. Carson smiled. "Then we have a problem with her paperwork. The quitclaim deed is incomplete," Mr. Carson explained, spreading legal documents across his desk. "Your wife filed the initial paperwork, but never completed the final registration process." My heart started pounding. "What does that mean?" "It means you still own 50% of that house, legally speaking. She jumped the gun by having you removed before securing full ownership." I stared at him. "So I still own half?" "According to county records, yes. Your grandmother's will included specific language about inherited property remaining with blood relatives unless properly transferred through probate court." Tony slapped his knee. I knew something was fishy. Mr. Carson continued. "We can file a motion to reclaim your ownership share. It will require a court hearing, but the law is on your side." "What happens then?" "She'll receive official notice that you're asserting your property rights. If she can't prove sole ownership, which she can't, the court will restore your 50% stake." For the first time in days, hope flickered in my chest. "How soon can we start?" "I'll file the papers this afternoon. She should receive notification within 48 hours. 2 days later, my phone exploded with missed calls. Vanessa had called 17 times. Beverly left 8 voicemails, each one more frantic than the last. I ignored them all. The court papers had been delivered that morning. I imagined Vanessa's face when she read that I was legally reclaiming half of her house. The panic in Beverly's voice told me everything. "Please call me back," Vanessa's latest voicemail pleaded. "We need to talk about this misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. That's what she called secretly stealing my inheritance. Tony and I sat in his kitchen, listening to the messages on speakerphone. Beverly's voice got more aggressive with each call. "You can't do this to my daughter. She deserves that house. You're being vindictive and cruel." But Vanessa's messages told a different story. Her confident, cold tone from 3 days ago had cracked. Now she sounded desperate, scared. "I know you're angry, but this is getting out of hand. Can't we work something out?" Tony grinned. Now she wants to be adults. My phone rang again. Vanessa's name flashed on the screen. This time, I answered. "Now you want to talk?" "Please," she whispered. "Come home. We can fix this." "There is no home." "You made sure of that." The courthouse smelled like old wood and nervous sweat. I sat at a wooden table next to Mr. Carson, watching Vanessa and her lawyer enter the room. She looked perfect, as always. Hair styled, makeup flawless, wearing the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary. She was playing the innocent wife, wronged by her bitter husband. Beverly sat behind her, shooting daggers at me. "All rise," the bailiff announced. The Honorable Judge Oscars presiding. Judge Oscars was a stern woman in her 60s who looked like she'd seen every trick. She reviewed the case file with careful attention. "Mrs. Cooper," she addressed Vanessa, "you filed a quitclaim deed removing your husband from property he inherited prior to marriage. Can you explain the legal basis?" Vanessa's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client was protecting her interests in the marital home." "Mr. Cooper," Judge Oscars turned to me, "do you dispute your wife's claim?" Mr. Carson rose. "Your Honor, the original inheritance specifically protects the property. Mrs. Cooper's quitclaim deed was filed without proper probate approval and lacks Mr. Cooper's signature." Judge Oscars examined the documents. Vanessa's confident expression began to crack. "The court finds that Mr. Cooper retains his 50% ownership stake. The quitclaim deed is invalid." Vanessa's face went white. Beverly gasped. Outside the courthouse, Vanessa's mask finally slipped. Her lawyer had explained her situation clearly. She now owned half a house she couldn't afford alone. "This is ridiculous," she hissed at me. "You're being petty and vindictive." "I'm being legal," I replied calmly. "You tried to steal my inheritance." Beverly pushed forward. "You can't do this to her. She needs that house. She should have thought about that before changing the locks." Vanessa's tone shifted, became almost pleading. "Look, I know things got heated. Maybe we made mistakes. But we can work this out. I'll buy out your half." I pretended to consider it. "What's your offer?" "50,000, she said quickly. The house was worth 200,000. She was offering me a quarter of my own property's value. "That's insulting," I said. "Fine. 75,000. That's more than fair." "My answer is no." Her face twisted with rage. "Then I'll never sell to you either. We'll both be stuck with this mess." I looked at her calmly. "You won't have a choice." Vanessa and Beverly stormed off to their car. I watched them drive away, knowing they had no idea what came next. Mr. Carson had explained the beautiful irony of Vanessa's situation. As co-owner of the property, I had legal rights she'd never considered. "She's been living there rent-free while you've been homeless," he'd said. "That's grounds for claiming violation of joint ownership agreements." Since Vanessa couldn't afford the mortgage payments alone, something I'd discovered during financial disclosure, she was technically defaulting on the property. As a co-owner, I had the right to initiate proceedings to protect my investment. The eviction notice was served on a rainy Thursday morning. I watched from Tony's car as the sheriff's deputy knocked on the front door. Vanessa answered in her bathrobe, clearly not expecting official visitors. I saw her face change as she read the papers. She looked up and down the street frantically, as if searching for me. Beverly appeared beside her, snatching the notice from her hands. Even from across the street, I could see Beverly's mouth moving rapidly, her free hand waving. She was losing her mind. The deputy said something, pointed to his badge, and walked back to his patrol car. Vanessa stood in the doorway, holding the eviction notice like it might bite her. My phone rang within minutes. "You can't evict me from my own house," Vanessa screamed. "Our house," I corrected. "And yes, I can." The eviction process took 30 days. During that time, I made an offer to the mortgage company that held the remainder of the house loan. Since Vanessa couldn't make payments and I was a legal co-owner, the bank was happy to negotiate a buyout rather than foreclose. For $60,000, less than half the remaining mortgage balance, I purchased full ownership of my grandmother's house. The day the sale went through, I drove past the property. Vanessa's car sat in the driveway, but I noticed cardboard boxes stacked against the windows. She was packing. Beverly's car was gone. Apparently, she'd abandoned ship when the legal bills started piling up. Tony met me at a nearby coffee shop to celebrate. So you actually own the whole house now? 100%, I confirmed, showing him the deed paperwork. Vanessa has 6 days left to vacate. What are you going to do with it? I'd been thinking about that. The house held too many painful memories to live in again. But I had a better plan. I'm going to rent it out, I said. To someone who actually deserves it. Tony raised his coffee cup. From homeless to landlord in 6 weeks. I smiled. It felt good to win for once. The eviction notice I served Vanessa was official and final. She had 3 days to vacate or face removal by the sheriff's department. I expected more desperate phone calls, more threats from Beverly. Instead, I got something different. Beverly called my new number, somehow she tracked it down, and left a voicemail that made me glad I'd started recording all our interactions. You think you're so smart, her voice snarled through the phone. But we're not done with you. I'm calling the news station. Everyone's going to know what kind of vindictive man you are. You'll be ruined. I played the recording for Mr. Carson, who chuckled. Please encourage her to go to the media, he said. Once they hear about the property theft, the story will take a different turn. But Beverly's threat revealed something important. They were desperate and unpredictable. I decided to drive by the house that evening. What I saw made my blood boil. A red pickup truck sat in my driveway, a truck I didn't recognize. Through the kitchen window, I could see a man moving around inside. He was comfortable in the space. Vanessa wasn't just living in my house rent-free. She'd moved someone else in too. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, was watering her garden. I walked over to talk to her. Do you know who owns that red truck? She looked uncomfortable. I probably shouldn't say anything. It's my house, I explained. I'm the legal owner now. Her face softened. He's been staying there for months. I thought it was strange. I decided to introduce myself to Vanessa's boyfriend. It was time he understood exactly whose property he'd been living in. The next morning, I knocked on the front door of my house. The man who answered was about 25, with messy blonde hair and an arrogant smirk. Yeah, he said, looking me up and down like I was selling magazines. I'm the owner of this house, I said calmly. And you are? He laughed. Right. Vanessa told me about you, dude. You need to move on. She's with me now. What's your name? Kyle. And you need to get off our porch before I call the cops. I pulled out my phone and showed him the property deed with my name on it. His smirk faded as he read the official stamps and signatures. This house belongs to me, I continued. You've been living here illegally. I'm the landlord, and your girlfriend is being evicted in 48 hours. Kyle's confident expression cracked. That's impossible. Vanessa owns this place. Vanessa tried to steal this place. She failed. Now you both need to leave. I heard footsteps behind Kyle. Vanessa appeared, wearing one of my old t-shirts. When she saw me, her face went through a range of emotions. What are you doing here? She demanded. Talking to your boyfriend about trespassing. Kyle looked between us, finally understanding he was caught in something bigger than he'd realized. Kyle stepped onto the front porch, closing the door behind him. He was trying to look tough, but I could see uncertainty in his eyes. Look, man, he said, I don't want any trouble. Vanessa told me you guys were divorced and she got the house. We're separated, not divorced. And she never got the house. She tried to steal it from me. Kyle glanced back at the door. I could hear Vanessa moving around inside, probably listening to every word. She said you were crazy. That you couldn't handle the breakup. Did she mention that she secretly transferred the property deed while I was at work? Or that her mother helped plan it? Kyle's face showed he was hearing this for the first time. She wouldn't do that. I pulled up the recording of Beverly's voice on my phone. "Once we get him out, you'll own everything. He'll be left with nothing, just like he deserves." Kyle listened to the whole thing. His shoulders sagged. "How long have you two been together?" I asked. "About 4 months, he said quietly. 4 months. That meant their relationship started before Beverly moved in. Before the property theft. Vanessa had been planning this for even longer. "Kyle," I said, not unkindly, "you've been used. She needed someone to help her feel secure while she was stealing my inheritance." He looked at the door again. "She loves me. She loved me too. Until she didn't." 2 days later, I hired Premier Property Management to handle my new rental. The company specialized in strict lease enforcement and tenant relations. "We'll need them out first," explained Angela, the property manager. "Then we can prepare the house for legitimate renters." "What if they refuse to leave?" "Sheriff's department handles that. It's not pleasant, but it's legal." Angela walked through the house with me, noting damage and needed repairs. Kyle's motorcycle had left oil stains on the garage floor. Someone had punched a hole in the bathroom wall. The carpet reeked of cigarette smoke. "First month's rent, last month's rent, and security deposit," Angela explained the new lease terms. "No smoking, no pets, no subletting. Rent is due by the 1st. Late fees start on the 2nd. I watched through the window as Vanessa loaded boxes into Kyle's truck. She moved slowly, like she couldn't believe this was happening. "The previous tenants weren't paying rent?" Angela asked. "They were squatters," I said. "Living there illegally." Angela nodded professionally. "We see that sometimes." My phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. "Please. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes?" I showed the message to Angela, who shook her head. "Don't engage directly. Let everything go through the property management company." I typed back, "All communication goes through Premier Property Management. Their number is 5550123. Vanessa went nuclear on social media. She posted a long Facebook rant about me stealing her home and leaving her homeless out of spite. "My husband couldn't handle that I was stronger than him," she wrote. "Now he's using legal technicalities to destroy my life. This is what happens when weak men get power." The post got dozens of supportive comments from people who didn't know the real story. Her friends called me heartless, cruel, vindictive. So I posted the receipts. I uploaded the quitclaim deed with my name crossed out. The court documents proving she'd tried to steal inherited property. The recording of Beverly planning the whole scheme. "My wife secretly removed my name from the house my grandmother left me," I wrote. "She changed the locks and kicked me out while I was at work. She moved her boyfriend in while we were still married. The courts restored my legal ownership." The tide turned quickly. People started man. By the end of the week, Kyle's truck was gone. Vanessa was alone in the house, with 2 days left on her eviction notice. Vanessa tried everything in those final days. She contacted a real estate agent about selling the house, forgetting that she no longer owned it. "I'm sorry," the agent told her over the phone while I listened from the kitchen. "The property records show a different owner entirely. I can't list something you don't have title to." She called lawyers, trying to find someone who would challenge the court's decision. But Mr. Carson had been thorough. Every document was filed correctly, every legal requirement met. Beverly returned on the last day, driving a U-Haul truck. I watched from across the street as mother and daughter loaded furniture and boxes. Beverly kept looking around nervously, as if expecting cameras or protesters. Her plan to go to the media had fizzled when she realized the story didn't make her look like the victim. "You can't do this to us," she shouted when she noticed me. "We have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you tried to steal my house, I called back. A sheriff's deputy sat in his patrol car, making sure the eviction proceeded peacefully. Beverly glared at him like he was personally responsible for her daughter's situation. By evening, the U-Haul was packed and gone. I walked through my empty house, seeing it clearly for the first time in months. It felt bigger without their belongings cluttering every room. The afternoon sun streamed through clean windows, making everything bright. I was home. 3 weeks later, Vanessa appeared at Tony's apartment. I was staying there while the house was being repaired and repainted. Tony answered the door, then looked back at me with raised eyebrows. She wants to talk to you. Vanessa stood on the porch in old jeans and a wrinkled sweater. Her perfect appearance had cracked. She looked tired, defeated. Please, she said when I came to the door. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped outside. Tony stayed nearby, listening from the kitchen window. I was wrong, Vanessa began. Her voice was small, nothing like the confident woman who'd kicked me out. I was stupid and selfish and I'm sorry. Okay, I said. My mom filled my head with all this poison. About how you weren't good enough, how I deserved better. She convinced me that taking the house was the right thing to do. I waited. Kyle left, she continued. He said he couldn't trust someone who would lie to him from the beginning. He was right. Tears started falling down her cheeks. Real tears, not the manipulative kind she'd used during our marriage. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, she whispered. But I wanted you to know that I realize how wrong I was. How much I hurt you. I looked at this woman I'd loved for 5 years. The woman who'd planned to destroy me with her mother's help. Thank you for saying that, I said finally. Is there any chance? No, I said gently but firmly. There isn't. I blocked Vanessa's number after that conversation. Changed my locks, my email password, my social media settings. Mr. Carson helped me file a no-contact order to prevent further harassment. You're being smart, he said. People who feel cornered sometimes escalate their behavior. But Vanessa didn't escalate. She disappeared. Tony heard through mutual friends that she and Beverly were living in a weekly motel across town. Beverly's savings were gone, spent on lawyers and deposits for apartments they couldn't qualify for. Maybe you should feel sorry for her, Tony suggested one evening. I do feel sorry for her, I replied. But feeling sorry doesn't mean enabling. She made her choices. The house repairs were finished. New carpet, fresh paint, updated appliances. Angela from Premier Property Management brought potential tenants through every weekend. We have several strong applications, she reported. A young family with excellent credit. A retired teacher. A single mother with 2 kids. Tell me about the single mother. Her name is Maria Santos. She's been looking for stable housing for months. Works 2 jobs, never been late on a payment, excellent references. Maria reminded me of my own mother, hardworking, determined, trying to build something better for her children. She gets first consideration, I said. Angela smiled. I thought you'd say that. Maria Santos moved into the house on a Saturday morning in October. I helped her carry boxes while her 8-year-old son, Don, explored the backyard. Thank you, she said, looking around the living room. This is the nicest place we've ever lived. You earned it, I replied. Your references were outstanding. Don ran inside, excited. Mom, there's a tire swing in the back. And a garden. I'd forgotten about the tire swing. Vanessa had complained about it, said it looked trashy. But seeing Don's joy reminded me why my grandmother had hung it there. The previous tenants didn't have children, I explained to Maria. Feel free to use the backyard however you'd like. This is perfect, she said, watching Don through the window. He needs space to be a kid. Angela handled the lease signing while I gave Don a tour of the house. He was fascinated by everything: the walk-in closets, the big bathtub, the breakfast nook. "Are you the landlord?" he asked me. "Yes." "Are you nice?" I laughed. "I try to be." "Good." Our last landlord was mean. He yelled at my mom when the rent was 2 days late because I got sick. Looking at this little boy, I understood why some things were more important than profit. "I won't yell at your mom," I promised. 6 months later, I learned what had happened to Vanessa and Beverly through an unexpected source: Kyle. He called me out of the blue on a Tuesday evening. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me," he said, "but I thought you should know about Vanessa." "What about her?" "She's in a bad way, man. Really bad." Kyle explained that Beverly had suffered a heart attack 3 months after their eviction. The medical bills and stress had wiped out what little money they had left. "Vanessa's working at a fast food place now," Kyle continued. "Living in some sketchy apartment complex. Beverly's in a state nursing home." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and meant it. "The thing is," Kyle's voice got uncomfortable, "she found out I was the one who told people about her cheating. She's been calling me, threatening to make up lies about both of us." "What kind of lies?" "Crazy stuff. That we conspired to steal her house. That we're secretly working together." I thanked Kyle for the warning and called Mr. Carson. "Can she cause any legal problems for me?" "Not based on what you've described," he assured me. "But document any contact attempts." But Vanessa never contacted me. According to Kyle, she'd moved to another state to start over. Beverly died in the nursing home that winter. The chapter of my life that included both of them was finally closed. On a warm spring morning, I found an envelope slipped under my apartment door. My name was written on it in Vanessa's handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a letter asking for nothing but offering everything. "I don't expect you to read this," it began, "but I needed to write it." She detailed the months after our separation. The financial collapse, her mother's illness, the realization that everyone she'd trusted had been using her. "Kyle was seeing 2 other women while we were together," she wrote. "He laughed when I found out, said I was stupid for believing him." The letter continued for 2 pages. Raw honesty about her mistakes, her regrets, the person she'd become under her mother's influence. "I'm not asking for forgiveness or a second chance," she concluded. "I just wanted you to know that I understand now. You were the only genuine person in my life, and I threw you away for people who never really cared about me." At the bottom, she'd written, "I hope you're happy. You deserve to be." I read the letter twice, then put it in a drawer. Some apologies deserve acknowledgement, even when they can't change anything. But I didn't respond. Some conversations are better left closed. I decided to write back after all, not because I wanted to reconcile, but because some truths need to be spoken clearly. "Vanessa," I wrote, "I received your letter, and I appreciate your honesty. I spent hours on that letter, choosing every word carefully. I wanted to be truthful without being cruel, honest without being vindictive. You're right that I was genuine with you. I loved you completely, trusted you absolutely, and worked every day to build a life we could both be proud of. When you threw me away, it broke something inside me that I'm still learning to repair. Not just the betrayal, but the realization that our entire relationship might have been built on a foundation I didn't understand." I detailed the months of sleeping in my car, the humiliation of being homeless while she lived in my inherited house with another man, the legal battle to reclaim what was rightfully mine. "But I also want you to know that I've forgiven you. Not because what you did was okay, but because carrying anger was poisoning my own life. I hope you find peace and genuine happiness. I hope you learn to value people who love you before you lose them." I signed it simply, "Take care of yourself." I mailed the letter to Kyle's address, asking him to forward it. A week later, he texted me, she cried when she read it. But she also smiled. Thank you. 2 years after the divorce was finalized, Vanessa came back to see the house one last time. Maria called me. There's a woman outside taking pictures of the house. She seems upset. I drove over, finding Vanessa standing on the sidewalk with tears in her eyes. She looked healthier than when I'd last seen her, less worn down. I'm sorry, she said when she saw me. I know I shouldn't be here. I was just in town visiting Beverly's grave, and I wanted to see the house. How are you doing? Better, she said honestly. I got help. Therapy, mostly. Learning about the ways my mother manipulated me, and how I let her. Through the front window, we could see Dawn doing homework at the kitchen table while Maria cooked dinner. The warm light and domestic scene looked like everything a home should be. They look happy, Vanessa said. They are. Maria's a good tenant and a great mother. I'm glad, she said, and I believed she meant it. This house deserves to be filled with happiness. We stood there quietly for a moment, two people who had loved each other once and destroyed it through pride and poor choices. I should go, Vanessa said finally. I watched her walk to her car, a small, practical sedan that looked like responsibility and fresh starts. She drove away without looking back. 6 months later, I visited my grandmother's grave for the first time since the house situation began. The headstone needed cleaning, and I'd brought fresh flowers. Thank you, Grandma, I said quietly, kneeling to arrange the bouquet. For the house, for the strength, for teaching me that dignity matters more than revenge. The cemetery was peaceful in the late afternoon sun. I thought about everything that had happened, the betrayal, the legal battle, the slow process of rebuilding my life. From the gravesite, I could see my house in the distance. Maria had planted a garden where Vanessa's mother used to complain about the neighbor's fence. Dawn was playing in the yard with friends from school. The house had found its purpose again. Not as a trophy to be fought over, but as a home where children could grow up safe and loved. I stood up, brushed dirt from my knees, and walked back to my car. Tony was picking me up for dinner, and Angela had left a message about another rental property. Funny how trash can turn into treasure when you reclaim what's yours.